Hi, everyone. Welcome to Move More, Worry Less. I'm your host, Paige Festa, the founder and designer at 13 Fit Apparel. I'm here today with my friend Morit Summers, who I met years ago. I was looking at pictures the other day and I saw the picture that we took the first day we met and I was going to send it to you. And then I probably got distracted by something. Anyway, she works in the fitness industry. She has her own fitness studio in Brooklyn. She just launched a book that we're going to talk about. And she's a real advocate for plus size fitness. So Morit, if you want to say hi to our listeners and maybe give us a little background about who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Awesome. Hi. I'm Morit. So actually Paige and I met, I don't know what year it was, but I like telling the story because I feel like it's important. So the other stuff will wait if that's cool with you.
Totally cool.
So I am a plus size woman, a plus size personal trainer, as Paige just said, but I reached out to her because I really, really liked one of the designs on her tank tops. And I was like, Paige, I really want this, but like I need it in a bigger size. And she was like, okay, let's make that happen. And so fast forward, we're continuing on with like everything needs to be inclusive and we're all working towards it. But long story short is I'm a personal trainer. I own Form Fitness Brooklyn, which is a small personal training studio. And I just wrote a book called Big and Bold, Strength Training for the Plus Size Woman, which I like to describe as a beginner's guide to strength. But with with this idea that there's a new voice, right? So there's lots of books that are beginner guides to strength, but there has never been representation of a plus size woman, let alone a plus size person. And so I think that we need to be represented, and like representation is the biggest message that needs to get across for this book. So
I love that. It's awesome. I want to talk about your book more, but I want to talk about your background first, and then we'll kind of, build into it. So let's talk about how you got into fitness and kind of your whole journey with it, from being interested in fitness to opening your own studio in Brooklyn.
Deal. Okay. So long story short, I was the fat kid in school. I, around like third grade, had gained a lot of weight. Hated sports. Like my parents tried to put me in soccer. I did not jive well. But at like 14, that's the age where we start to, I guess, want to explore, the opposite sex. And like, I was the fat kid. And so I wanted to join a gym to lose weight because I like wanted to fit in and I wanted to feel like the other kids. And so my journey at the gym started at the age of 14. Fast forward through high school, I had no idea what I wanted to study in college because like nothing really appealed to me other than working out. And so I went to school for fitness. And my journey in terms of like, my journey in terms of movement and fitness is that it was always about weight loss until about the age of 27. I always just wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to, I guess we could say, quote unquote, be normal. And so even though I had been literally working out for, 13 years, I still was much bigger than everybody else. And I was told, I guess I should backtrack. So college, studied fitness, started working at a big box gym, and I was told that I wouldn't be successful because I was essentially too fat. Around the age of 27, I started to get into CrossFit and powerlifting and all sorts of different fitness avenues. And I was also, I guess 27 for most people is a bit of a transition, right? Like there's something about that age. You're like not in your young 20s, you're almost an adult.
You're almost 30 and you're like, oh my goodness, it's approaching.
Yeah. Exactly. So I guess I started to find myself a little, I also had broken up with a boyfriend. So I started to like find myself a little bit differently and just realized that I was really sick of putting so much energy into thinking about fitting in and losing weight. And so with CrossFit and powerlifting, I realized that like I was so much more capable than I realized, and that my weight on the scale had nothing to do with that, right? Like at a powerlifting meet, I'm in the heavyweight category. That's it. I don't have to weigh, like I don't have to worry about it. So like how nice, because every other category does, right? Every other weight class does. And I didn't. And there was like something about that that like really clicked for me. I was like, oh, this is so fascinating. And so long story short is it's been years of me realizing that capability is so much more important than worrying about fitting in.
Right.
So.
And then you were like, I'm just going to open a fitness studio because I'm a
well,
boss.
Yes, it was that simple.
and then it just happened. I don't know.
Right, overnight. I guess with that, so I worked for the big box gym for about 10 years. I always wanted to own a gym, and I think a lot of personal trainers say that. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't recommend it. like maybe backtrack that thought and think it through, but especially in New York, let's just be clear. So yeah, I mean, I was at that big box gym for 10 years. And while I was going through all of this, like finding myself, I realized that my morals just really didn't align with theirs. And I also realized that there was no growth. So I was top trainer for years and years and years. I was teaching the incoming trainers, and the only other avenue was to become a manager. And that was not what I wanted to do for a company that I just didn't align with. So I took the plunge and transitioned and opened up Form Fitness Brooklyn, which again has been a blessing and a curse. It's amazing. I love it. I love everything about it. And it's just really hard because like owning a business is really hard.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Super awesome. I remember when you were making that transition, and crazy. And it's such a cool little gym, not to like downplay it by calling it little, but it's like, it's a cute space. It's in Brooklyn, and I remember coming down there, checking it out, taking pictures.
Hell yeah.
So let's talk about your mission as a trainer and your clientele, and how you're able to live your purpose and your mission with your clients and all that jazz.
Absolutely. So Form Fitness is for everyone and anyone. We really truly believe in creating this like safe environment for people to come in that is fit, right? Like you're coming to be this healthier person, feel better, feel stronger, do all this stuff, but you're not walking in and looking at a scale. You're not walking in and being told you need to lose weight. You're not walking in and having someone give you their goals for you. You're walking in to tell us what you actually want, and we're there to listen. That being said, there's also, just because it is small, it's a very small community. So there's this like ability to know everyone that's surrounding you. Even if you're working with one trainer, all the other trainers, or, there's just like the community piece of it. But the inclusivity is really the most important part to us, because, I think we think that gyms are there for people to get healthier, but a lot of the times gyms are there for the healthy people. Like they already exist for the healthy person. They're not there to make people feel like they can come in and fit in.
Right.
And so that's what we are there for. I forgot the rest of your question.
Just like how you're able to live your purpose, like with your clients and your mission with them. And I mean, I feel like you pretty much answered it, but continue.
Yeah,
please.
No. So I think I think I did answer it. And I think, again, so we don't even have a scale at Form Fitness. Like if someone does want to come in and talk about weight loss because of health reasons, that's great and good. And there's no judgment about that, but it's a discussion. It's not, okay, great, like here's what you're going to do to lose weight. Right. Let's understand what that's coming from. Let's understand why. Let's have like a real understanding of you and your health. We're big proponents about strength and lifting and moving well, and understanding that can be the caveat to health.
Right. So I guess my next question is going to be, I think, first of all, I think it's wonderful that you're not focused on weight because for anybody who does work out now, I think along your journey, everyone kind of comes to the realization you're like, oh shit, I could be strong. And it's just empowering to be able to move and to lift and to do all these different things. So although your initial purpose could be because you wanted to lose weight, you learn so much about yourself through fitness. So I lost my question.
It's okay, because I have something I want to say to that. So
okay.
What you just said, which is interesting, because I think there are many people that do find their purpose within fitness. Like you and I also both have this background of specific types of fitness, but you also, like I did, worked in places that were very different than that. So right, like a cycling studio is a place that a lot of people, and I guess I'm also coming from the New York vibe, that go just to sit there and sweat because they have to burn calories. Right. They're not going to get better at something. They're not going because this thing helps them accomplish anything other than, right? Whereas then you and I both have done this thing, CrossFit and lifting weights, that we see that there's like this ladder to accomplishment. And that's what drives me. Right. Every workout I do, I've accomplished something, even if it was the worst workout I've had. Right. Right. I know that I'm working to be better at something. Right. And so the place that I worked in for as long as I did, most of the people were there walking on the treadmill or running on the treadmill or walking on the Stairmaster because they felt they had to do this thing just to burn and sweat and burn calories. Right. Right. So I actually think there's a huge amount of people that continue to live in that world. Yeah. And think that we all should be doing that, and that we can't eat bread and we can't have candy. Right. And if you do, you have to go get on the treadmill. And that's the thing that we have to stop doing. Right. Like earning your food or earning or having to burn off what you just ate or whatever. Right. Yeah, I definitely was in that mindset when I first got into fitness because all I cared about was looking good. Bottom line, 100%. I came from the fashion industry and I would work with models who were twice my height and half my weight. And I just felt like a stumpy lard all the time. And I was just like, I hate this. And I just wanted to look good. And I punished myself if I ate the wrong things or if I didn't get a workout in. So, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for that. And I think that it's so great that you press that mission and that purpose so much that it's a lot more than how you look. And that reminds me of what my question was, and I'm going to see if I can articulate it the way I want to. So in the mindset that, okay, we're not going to the gym necessarily to lose weight, and like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but what are the, I guess, like other benefits of working out from like your perspective, like, as far as your health goes and what people should be doing and focusing on rather than being like, I need to be skinny and I need to look this way. Does that question even make sense? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, listen, like, let's you and I, neither of us have kids, but there are lots of women in this world that have kids that have to pick up the kid from the from the crib every single day. They have to carry the laundry up and down the stairs. They have to pick up the stroller and all of the stuff, and like, that's strength, right? Then their kid becomes a toddler, they have to run after them. Right. Like, that's just one example, but like, movement is the thing that we have to continue to do. And so again, I live in New York and I'm watching people walking up and down the subway and they can't carry the stroller by themselves because they're not strong enough. Right. Or can someone, like, I use these examples in the book because I feel like it's just important, but like, can you pick up your own suitcase and put it overhead? We should be able to do that. Right. Right. You should, I mean, really, you should be able to do that. That should not be something that's like, oh, you're so strong. No, like, you should just be able to do certain things. Right. Because those are, well, maybe not flying, but those are everyday things, so that's a simple one. Like, the idea of getting up out of bed and sitting on the toilet and standing back up, right? We should be able to do that without using a gripper, right? Unless you have a reason to. And by the way, plenty of people do. But generally speaking, the ability to sit on a chair and stand up is something that people should be able to do without a problem. So the strength, I think, is like the main thing that fitness can give you that has nothing to do with weight loss.
Right.
We know about lots of other benefits: bone health, blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, like all of these things you can see from being physically fit and movement, walking, like all of that stuff that has nothing to do with what the number on the scale says.
Right.
Right. And I think that's the bigger point that we could talk about, but people look at fat people and assume that they are unhealthy. They assume, right? They're in their minds, they're looking at what the doctor's chart says, and it says all these horrible things, but like, that's not true.
Right.
Just because I'm fat does not mean I'm unhealthy in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. My blood pressure is fine. My cholesterol is fine, right? Like all of these things. If everyone wants to see my paperwork from the doctor, I could show it to them, but that's ridiculous.
Right.
So
I think that's a really good point. And something that, I don't know, I think it's a very good point. And I think that more people need to realize that, because you're right. I think that that's like a misconception, which leads me into my next 100%. Question is, as a plus size trainer and working with plus size clients, like what are a lot of the misconceptions about you or your clients or whatever, besides maybe like being unhealthy? Are there any other?
Well, I think that, okay, let's the elephant in the room. Why do I even have a following? It's literally because I can do things that people think I can't do. Right. So like I can do push-ups and box jumps. And at one point I was able to do pull-ups. And, I've done like 15 Spartan races, and I, do these things that like a lot of people do. Right. There's nothing like extra special about what I'm doing. But because I'm in this body that people think is not capable, it's cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there's that. I think that like also when people are fat, we're assumed to be lazy. And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Right. I can be lazy. I'm happy to sit on the couch and like watch Netflix, but like I also am standing all day long with clients. I am riding my bike for 12 miles when I feel like it. I'm taking 3-mile walks when I feel like it. I'm working out for 2.5 hours a day. Like,
right.
We're not all lazy, so there's these just perceptions that like when you see fat, you assume certain things.
Yeah. I think that's really another good point. I'm like, I keep saying the same thing over and over, but because I'm just thinking about, so when I first started working out back, to be honest, I don't know if I could put a year on it, but like 2011 or 12 or something, I was in like the end of college. And I remember when I was doing like Jillian Michaels workouts in my apartment for the longest time. And finally I was able to join like a Globo gym. And so I joined, and I remember thinking like with the group fitness classes they had, I was like, well, if the instructor doesn't look the way I want to look, then I don't want to take their class because they're not achieving like what my goal is. And it's just so funny, for lack of a better word, like how ignorant I was then, because you don't realize, and I'm connecting this to you saying like people assume that if somebody 100%. Is plus size that they're lazy, or you don't know what somebody's journey is. You don't know what's going on with them, and you don't know what their goals are. Maybe they don't want to look that way. Maybe all they care about is being strong, or maybe they just want to be healthy, and whatever weight they're healthy at is fine. And I think that people maybe who are just stepping into the gym or who are not really involved with the fitness community might have that mindset too, because I was like that, and I'm not proud of it, but that's the way that I thought when I first got into it. And then I started realizing, like, as I was having struggles with my own journey, I was like, well, I can't lose weight, but after all these years of working out, I know things. So then you realize these people can know stuff and they have knowledge and they understand fitness, but that doesn't mean their body's going to look exactly the way that you think they should. And then even deeper, you realize the people who are like so lean and ripped have to work so crazy hard to be like that for like a competition. And then it's not maintainable unless it's
they're
genetic.
the ones that have disorders most of the time.
Right.
Sometimes they don't, right? There are plenty of people that are genetically, right, like you said, genetically very thin or just have less body fat, but there's also a huge portion of the bodybuilding and fitness industry that is also just disordered.
Right.
It's very simple. You don't eat, and then you eat, and then you don't eat, and you like are in a very, very structured mindset. That's disordered eating.
Right.
So it may look really cool because you see all these muscles, but like what's not being talked about is how many of those women and men are having disordered eating. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to tell me otherwise, they are completely lying. Yeah. Right? If you are tracking every single thing you are eating, that is disordered eating.
I mean, to speak to that, in the beginning, I used to diet really hard. And I was obsessive about food on another level, and it was so unhealthy. I was number one, miserable. I wasn't really attaining my goals in the way that I thought I should be for the way I was eating. And I was obsessive to the point where it was causing anxiety. Like I said, I was miserable. And it was like, if I ate, not even kidding. If I ate one almond that I should not eat, I was like, oh my God, I had an extra almond today. Like I'm not even exaggerating. I was crazy. So, I mean,
that's an eating disorder.
I can definitely speak to that. And it's super difficult.
Right. And so now put on top of that, I could be doing all of those things, but still be in a bigger body. And people will assume that I'm eating cake all day long.
Right.
And now add on a different layer of stress.
Right.
Right. So like, I'm not saying, right. Like I'm sure that I have had disordered eating at some points in my life. And like, even now, right. Cause we all have like fucked up relationships with food because of what the world has done to us and what society and social norms have done to us. But like, this is where my journey happened. I was not willing to spend the amount of energy I was spending thinking about this anymore.
Right.
In such a negative way. I'm thinking about it now in a very different way. I talk about it all the time, but I'm trying to help spread this word.
Right.
When I was thinking about it before, it was like, am I allowed? People are going to judge me. I shouldn't have that thing. That's not okay. But I'm going to eat it. And then I eat it. And then you feel stressed. And then you feel upset. And then, you know what I mean? So like, It's just, there's too much, dude. Eat the burger. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Right. The other thing that I read, I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw this whole piece yesterday that someone was talking about that I thought so fascinating, that most of the time fat people are healthier because they are the ones that get so much shit for being the way that they are. So they know all about nutrition. They eat better than everybody else. They work out because they're told they have to work out. All of these things. So like, even though they still maybe look fat, that they're healthier than other people. Wow. And I was like, that's so fascinating. Because like, if you really think about it, that makes a ton of sense.
Right.
Right. Like at 13 years old, I was going to Weight Watchers. When did I start learning about food? When I was a child.
Right.
Right. At 14, I was already lifting weights because I thought I needed to. Instead of going and playing on the field because I just wanted to have fun with friends, I thought I couldn't play soccer because I was embarrassed because I couldn't run as fast as everybody else. So I went and worked out with 20-something-year-olds in the gym.
Right.
Think about that.
Wow.
Like, right. So
yeah,
it was just such a fascinating thought process to me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That's super interesting. Where were you reading that?
I would have to find it. Okay. I don't remember, of course, because, brain cells.
Yeah, no, for sure. So as a plus size trainer, and this might be a little redundant of a question, but maybe you have a different answer. Because I think misconceptions and challenges as a trainer might be a little bit different. So as a plus size trainer, like what are the challenges that you face and how do you handle those?
Totally. I mean, like I said earlier, there was, management tell me you're not going to succeed. And so in their mind, it was clients aren't going to want to train with you. Right.
Right.
Now, I never had a client ever say to me, I'm not going to train with you because you're fat. Right. Like that never happened. But there definitely could have been people that I like just didn't sign up with me because of that. And that's fine. And I would have no idea. So
Right.
moving on. I think I can't even believe I'm going to say this out loud, but I will. I think the ways that I see it the most is more on like the social media side. So I have a fantastic following, like, a good number, amazing people that are like beyond supportive, but I'm doing literally the same thing that like the people with 300,000 followers are doing, but I'm not a size 2. Right. Like I'm literally doing the same things. And so literally the only reason that I don't have, or at least I believe that I don't have a bigger following, is because I don't look like what people want to look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have more experience. I'm giving, you know what I mean? There's just, not that I have more experience than everyone. I just have a good amount of experience. It's the same thing. So I think there's like a discrimination, not whatever. I take none of this with anything, but when you're scrolling through the search feed on fitness and you see one person teaching you how to squat and you see another person teaching you how to squat, which one are you going to follow?
Right.
Which class did you want to go to? Right. So I think like that, those are ways in which it comes out. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, I mean, and that transitions me into another question. Do you find that you have challenges on social media beyond that? Like, I know that you have a really strong following who's really supportive, but do you have, everyone has haters.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, and how do you handle that if that's a thing for you?
I have a pretty thick skin. I've been bullied since I was a child, right? And like some people don't handle that well, and that's all good. And I feel for them. I luckily don't let a lot of that get to me. I think the people that say it, the things that I've gone through with people saying it to me in real life get to me way more than like this social bullying. I just think social bullying is so stupid.
Yeah. And like what wimps that they have to bully you like behind their phone.
I think that's how I feel. Like I am that person who's like, let's fight, like let's go. Right. So by saying it on a phone, I'm like, dude, you would never say that to my face. Like you just wouldn't. Like you know what I mean? Like anyway, so I do get a lot of it. And sometimes it's pretty ridiculous and horrible. And I have some people will actually stand up for me. I don't have to. Sometimes if it's really ridiculous, I'll just delete the comment.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I leave stuff there because I leave it there so that people understand that stuff still happens.
Yeah. Oh, I'd put them on blast, like screenshot it, put in your story and be like, nah.
Yeah. Well, and I have sometimes, I think it depends on the situation. Like sometimes I don't want to pay them any mind. Like I don't want to give them the attention that they think they should get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I want to talk about it because I think it's like a good conversation to have. Right. Like it's like a learning experience for us. Like if I feel like we can get something out of it, then it is a good opportunity. But if it's just going to give them attention, they can go fuck off. Like I have no patience for it.
Right.
I did a news news interview the other day, and they had posted on their socials, and I went to check it out. I was like curious if anyone watched it.
Yeah.
And this one dude just went in like paragraph after paragraph about how I was promoting obesity, and I was like, so I just stopped reading. I was like, forget it.
Wow.
And then what was which was so interesting and nice, is another person who I had never talked to before commented back at him. I didn't even like notice it because I stopped reading. And then she DM'd me and she was like, I just want to like apologize for that. Like it's taking away from what you're doing. And she just sent me the nicest message. And I was like, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Right. this is what you are awesome. That, right. Like I didn't give that guy any mind, but like you took time out of your day to make someone feel better. Like that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we all have to not let the cyberbullying get to us.
Right.
Dude doesn't know me.
Yeah. It just blows my mind that people have like the balls to just be a total dick online for for really no reason. Like he doesn't know you, you don't know him, and you did nothing to offend him. Like, I mean, they teach us the day you were born. Like,
don't say it.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Like, why do you have to be an asshole?
Because they're miserable too.
Yeah.
Right. Like it can't be more than that. Like,
right. Because happy people aren't sitting on the internet like, let me see who I can bully today.
Not even a chance. And maybe even if it's not about happiness, it's about jealousy. Like, every single person, whether they will again admit this or not, has moments of jealousy, right? We all do.
Oh,
and
for sure.
So I think when we get kind of petty, right? Blah, 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 about that person, you don't even realize that you're doing it sometimes. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's me being an asshole.
Right.
And I think these people just are really assholes and take it to another level.
Right. They don't check themselves. They're not like, whoa, hold on. They're just like, let me type this out.
100%. It's easy. Why not?
Right.
Why not? Right. There are times I've wanted to like type things and I'm like, don't stop. Right. And like not in the same context, but like there are times that it would be really easy to reply to something and you're like, okay, wait, be an adult here.
Right. Like, is that actually necessary?
Is it necessary? No. Okay, cool.
Totally.
Moving on with my life. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. So I remember a little while back, and correct me if I remember it wrong, but I feel like you did a post about PCOS.
Yes. Yes. Is there a question with it or? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Like if you want to talk a little bit about that and maybe what it is and how that affects you.
Totally. So I don't actually remember how old I was, but I feel like it was about 13 that I was diagnosed with PCOS because I was having very irregular periods. And I think that was like my main symptom for a long time. And then, you know, a lot of teenagers have acne, but I had acne, right? Like PCOS, there's all sorts of stuff, but I was also gaining weight, having a hard time taking weight off, doing all of that stuff. And I also have like facial hair growth. So there's like all sorts of random symptoms that PCOS can have that, you know, not everyone's diagnosed, and like it's hard to treat, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of opinions about what you should do and how to treat PCOS that like personally not sure I buy into, and maybe that's wrong. So one of the things that doctors always would tell me were like, you can't do intense workouts. And like, that made me angry. Yeah. Right. I like working out. Like I like intense workouts. No, I don't want to do burpees every single day, but I like
you don't
putting in effort. No, I don't. Right. But I like putting in effort. And so you're telling me I can't do intense workouts because I'm stressing my system. Like, then fuck it. I'll be fat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, well.
Is that what they said? Is that the intense workouts were stressing your system and making it hard to lose weight kind of a thing?
So I think that most people that are trying to help people with PCOS talk about how if the workouts are too intense, right, like it spikes hormone levels that can again like cause all sorts of downfall of the body, right? And so they talk about how people with PCOS should really be doing more low intensity versus high intensity, right? And that one again, like it just makes me kind of mad.
So then does that mean that is like their only reason for recommending low intensity workouts to, and I guess not the only reason, that makes it sound like I'm downplaying it, but the reason they would want you to do low intensity is so that you're not causing hormone imbalances or spiking your hormones or whatever.
I believe so. And I like couldn't really fully explain the science to you because I actually kind of ignore it sometimes.
Right. You're like,
I'm like the person who will break her arm and then ignore it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just, you're not going to tell me to stop doing things. So, I ignore a lot of the things with stuff like that. But, I, you know, again, I think, with PCOS, there's like insulin resistance and all sorts of stuff. So I've been on and off medications. I, you know, again, like have some, you know, my period is irregular. Like there's a lot of things to it, but I don't choose to let it stop me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Does it affect your fitness at all? I mean, besides the fact that you ignore what they say about working out, but like, does it affect, do you feel like it affects your performance or anything like that?
I don't think so. No? I mean, maybe, right? Like, who knows if I listen to what people said. I also, I mean, I have cutaneous lupus, which like is it's not, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think lupus is another thing that could like, right. But for me, I'm like, whatever. But sometimes when I'm kind of fucked up, I'm like, is that? Yeah, I'm going to ignore it. You know, like I kind of am one of those people, like, I wish no one ever told me I had anything, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know. Again, maybe that's not the healthiest way to look at it, but
yeah,
it's my truth.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. So I have a series of questions to kind of wrap it up a little bit. My first is going to be about your book. So, I want to talk about a little bit more about what your book is about. And you had posted recently, I think, like a lot of people might think that this book is just for like plus size fitness, but it's not. So maybe talk about, you know, what your book is, what the intention is behind it, and who should buy it besides everybody.
Well, everyone
should buy it. And we'll put the link in the show notes so you can buy it.
Okay, so I was approached to ask to write a book about strength training for plus size women. So again, I look at this as a beginner's guide to how to strength train, how to start a program, how to step into the gym, like all the things you need to know. Do you need lifting straps? Do you need lifting shoes? Do you, you know, like all of the stuff that can seem really intimidating. And then literally a step-by-step, you know, this is what you do, how many reps, how many sets, all of the stuff. There's goal setting, like there's lots of actual talking points. And then there's a million different exercises with all sorts of modifications. And so again, the book can be for many, many, many people. And so yes, it says to plus size women, but it doesn't have to be to women. It doesn't have to be to plus size women. Right? It could be for anyone that wants to start moving. The reason that again, every company has to do something that's like very niche. I am a plus size woman. It makes sense. And so I think in terms of if, let's say someone that's not non-binary or man wants to read this book, I think that that's great. And there's lots of information that's in there for them, just understanding that the book is in my voice. So I am a plus size woman. So that's like the only thing. Right. And then the other demographic that I also mentioned in that post is like, I believe that personal trainers are going to think, oh, we don't need this. And I think that you're exactly who needs it. Right? You need to understand where most of your clientele is coming from, not just right? Like we put our own goals on people.
Right.
We do. Most trainers put what they want you to look like and what they want you to do on their clients. And it's unnecessary and it's stressful. And it's why a lot of times people stop showing up. And so if we can open our minds and understand that the guy that is a bodybuilder that their client doesn't also want to bodybuild, that's okay. Right. And I know that's not everyone across the board, but there's definitely a lot of that. So I think that this book can help, like, again, have these trainers understand their clients a little bit better.
Yeah. I think that's a really great perspective. I wouldn't even have thought of that, but yeah, I mean, if you're training, yeah, like it's just another way to understand your client. So that's really great. And I'm assuming you kind of talk about this in the book. I don't know, but for our listeners, for anybody, okay, hold on, pause, back up. Earlier, you said a lot of gyms you think are made to get you healthy, but are made for the healthy, right? So for anyone who's intimidated by that thought, somebody who's plus size, somebody who's never been in the gym before, maybe somebody who hasn't never built muscle before, or just has no idea what to do, where to start, what advice would you give them?
I mean, you can get my book and it's going to help talk you through it.
Advice tip number 1, buy the book.
I think we have, okay, so I say this all the time and it applies to so many things, but we have to be okay with being uncomfortable, right? So the hardest part is literally stepping in the door and just starting. And even if that means you just walk up to the treadmill and get on the treadmill, you walked in the door that day, and that's what's important. I do believe in personal training. So if you're someone who hasn't done anything before, hiring a personal trainer, even if for a short period of time to learn, is incredibly valuable. I think, again, you know, my book has lessons and tips. I think I write programs for an app, right? Like there's so many ways we can learn now that can take a piece of that puzzle away for people. Right. So you don't know what you're doing? Great. Download an app, look up the workout. You don't need to think for yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So be uncomfortable by walking in, but try to make it easier for yourself.
Right.
Right. I'm not a plumber. I don't know how to fix my sink. I'm a personal trainer. I know how to help you move. We have to kind of stay in our lane and understand that that's okay.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, speaking from experience, I know how intimidating it can be to walk into a gym, but I think something to also realize is that in the nicest way, nobody cares what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
And if they're judging you, that's on them. That's not on you. So 100%. If you're going in, like, people are so in their own world doing their workout, or, I mean, obviously group fitness might be different than going into a Globo gym. It's going to be different depending on what kind of fitness you're getting into. But at the end of the day, people are there for themselves. And again, if they're judging you, that's on them.
It's true.
And they're probably not judging you.
I think I do believe that too, but I do also think that unfortunately, when you're in a fat body, people are judging you.
Yeah.
And that's where that other comment came from, right?
Yeah.
You should be able as a fat person to just walk into a gym and do your thing and not be judged and assumed right away that you're there to lose weight.
Right.
Right. You're there because you chose to be there. And that's that simple. And people shouldn't be looking at you and shouldn't be judging you.
Right.
So it is, I think, again, when you live in a different body, and that, by the way, could be a body of color, a bigger body, like we're not just talking fat people, right? Yeah. Like there's always a judgment based on what a person looks like. It's very different for you and I who are white women, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think you could say to someone's face, like, mind your own business, that kind of thing. But there are some other ways that can make it a little less intimidating.
Yeah.
But the first thing is you have to walk in. And by the way, there are plenty of things you can do at home too. So if you don't want to go to a gym, that's also okay. Right.
True. Very true. Well, I guess then I guess your advice would still apply. I was going to say maybe advice for people at home, but same thing, like do a little bit of research, maybe reach out to somebody that same thing.
Exactly.
No, I think that's a really good point of view. What was I going to say? I had a comment. I don't know.
It'll come back to you.
or it won't.
Yep.
But that's fine. I'm going to ask you my last question. And that's just, how can people follow along with everything that you're doing?
Everything is on Instagram. Everything is linked in my link tree, but the book is out. I'm on Boost Camp, which is a free fitness app. So that's a great one. So if you're looking for something that is inclusive, because being free is also inclusive, that is a good one. But yeah, everything is linked in my Instagram, and that's the best way to find me.
And your Instagram,
so at Morit Summers.
Okay, cool. And I'll put, well, I know I'm acting like, oh, it's a surprise. I know what your Instagram is. But I'll put your Instagram and any other links that you want in the show notes so people can find you and find your book and find the things that you're doing, because everything you do is so cool. And I love watching you on your journey and all the things that you do, because you're always doing something, and it's really awesome and inspiring. And I think I'm speaking for more than just myself when I say your voice and your authenticity and your vulnerability is really appreciated and respected. So thank you for always being open and sharing, and for being you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So thank you for being on here today.
Of course.
This was so fun.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you were here. So thank you everybody for listening in. If you haven't hit subscribe, you totally should. We are on YouTube as well, so you could watch this podcast if you want, unless you're already watching it, then in that case, you know where our YouTube is. If you review us, rate us, share us, all of those things, it helps us grow our mission and our purpose. So thank you again for listening in, and I'll talk to you next time.